Here we go. Good morning, KW Milwaukee, on a beautiful January 27th. Hope you guys had an excellent weekend. Feels weird because we always have the 2 week break at Christmas and then we come back and then we do a team meeting, then there's a break and then we have another one. But it's kind of the way the calendar falls at this time of year. All right, so I just want to address a couple things up front. One, um, today's team meeting's a little interesting from this standpoint. There are things happening in the world you need to be paying attention to. That's a theme. I would say both personally and professionally. You can't be ignorant to what's going on in the world, and my job today is to educate you on it. What do I mean by that? Find out. So I'm going to give you an update as to what's going on because there's things that will impact also how you professionally operate. Okay. And you might not know things are happening in the background, but I've kind of been foreshadowing things in the background for the last couple months. So we'll give you an update there. But here's what I'll say to kind of kick it off. And this, to be honest with you, I don't really know how to address this, like what's going on in the world. And this is an apolitical conversation. I just want that to be very, very clear. What's disheartening about what's going on in the world is there's a lack of leadership on both sides of the aisle, straight up. Doesn't matter if you're on the left, you're on the right, you're on the north, you're on the south, you're green, you're blue, you're pink, you're yellow, it doesn't matter. There's a lack of leadership, in my opinion. And I say that as a leader, disheartened to say, how the hell do you get to a point where we are in society? And to be honest with you, I'm not entirely the most educated person as to why these events are happening. I just know a lot of people, it's on a lot of people's conscience. And as a leader, I have to be thinking about how that impacts our people. And so yesterday I was trying to think about how do I address this with the group because I can't be ignorant as to how it impacts people. And I was sitting at my desk and I came across a Christmas card. Okay. And the Christmas card is an interesting story. Oh, here's the story up to it. Every year I get this Christmas card. It's from Dick and Sue Pieper. Okay. If you don't know Dick Pieper is one of the most philanthropic, engaged civic leaders in our community. He ran a company called Pieper Power for a long, long time, one of the largest commercial electrical companies. And I'm fortunate to get his Christmas card every year. Okay. Dick's an incredible man. A couple years ago, I shared with you his Christmas card because on the back of it, it talked about the tale of two wolves. And there was a Cherokee story that a young son asked his elder, which of the two wolves win? If you want to understand what it is, go look it up. And the end of the story was the one you feed. So I thought, oh, interesting. That was a few years ago. So yesterday, it's funny. I collect Christmas cards and then throw Christmas cards away. Dick's is the only Christmas card I keep because he always has a message on the back. And I think the message resonates. And so as I was thinking about how do I address what's going on in the world, I pulled Dick's card out. And I just showed this to you so you know I'm not bullshitting you. This was Dick's card this year. Okay. And I thought it was very appropriate during a period of time as people are trying to navigate how to make sense of what's going on in the world. And here's what I'd share with you what Dick shared on this year's Christmas card. It was this. He said, family is the indispensable subunit of a thriving culture, but friendship provides the architecture. Friendship is intentional, it is liberating, it is volitional. And if you are fortunate enough to have deep friendships that traverse the vagrancies of life and its valleys, you know the difference between having to get along and choosing to get along. While we both love our families, we are grateful for them. They are gifts chosen by others. Friendship is a gift we choose ourselves. Another one. Friendship is unnecessary, like philosophy, like art, like the universe itself, for God did not need to create. It has no survival value. Rather, it is the one of those things that gives you value to survive. Modeling friendship, and this is what actually hit me the most around what it is that we're dealing with today. No medicine is more valuable, none is more efficacious, none better suited to the cry of all our temper ills than a friend. to whom we may turn for consolation in the time of trouble, in which whom we may share our happiness in time of joy. So that's kind of what I'd lead with today. I don't have much of a comment as it relates to what's, I don't know. I'm just trying to challenge you to think, open your minds. And if you're going through something, lean on a friend. And if you need help, call me and I'll help you. But that was as I was sitting here and I thought about the Christmas cards, that the one Christmas card that I keep, because I always enjoy the message, I thought it was the most appropriate message to share with the group after what's going on in the world. Cool? All right. Mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives. Couple things I want to shout out and share with the group. If you had not heard, the great Emily Vanden Bogard gave birth to a baby boy, baby Weston, on January 16th. Emily, for those of you who don't know, is the one who sits in the background and last year paid around $70 million in commissions all by herself. She loves being behind the scenes, never wants to be in front of the scenes, and she's out for the next few weeks while we give 12 weeks of maternity leave. So I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that, and also introduce you to somebody else who is an absolute superhuman woman, Jen Church. If you haven't had the opportunity to meet her, I just wanted to give a quick introduction because Jen is handling all commissions while Emily is out. Jen, jump on real quick. Give these guys a quick update. Tell us a little bit about your son at UWM, your husband, and you've been in the KW ecosystem longer than people may realize.
Exactly. Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, KW. Hope you can hear me okay. Charlie, I loved your message. I feel like I have a lot of friends within the KW family, but there's also a lot of you that I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet in person. So just know that I do have a background, 16 years of real estate sales. So I understand how hard you all are working in the trenches, and it's important for me to be able to pay you out, as well as the whole team, as fast as possible. So looking forward to stepping in and helping with your commissions while EMS is out. I have been with KW for 5 years. It'll be 5 years tomorrow, actually. Started in the MCA role with Germantown as we launched this office. Normally, I am at Germantown 4 days a week working beside these awesome agents up here, and then at North Shore 1 day a week. But obviously, I'll be in North Shore a lot more now, covering the maternity leave. I have a husband that I met when we were in college. He now is a recruiter for that college. And then I have a son who is a sophomore at UWM in the film program. And so feel very, very blessed to be part of the KW family. When I'm not at work, I'm a huge sports fan. I love, probably the two teams I follow the most are the Green Bay Packers and then our local AHL hockey team, the Admirals. So
Go ads. I did not know that about you, Church.
I'm going tonight.
I'll tell you what, I'll see, there's another side to you I didn't know, and ads fans are a wild bunch.
There you go. Thank you, Charlie.
That's awesome. Well, I wanted to showcase, guys, a little bit of the team behind the team, and to celebrate Emily, and introduce you guys to many of you who don't know Jen Church, but has been in our environment for 5 years. And it's all right. With that, then, also a new hire who we'll introduce you to in the future. He'll be sitting in the North Shore. His name's Amari Williams. Amari will be our agent experience coordinator, sitting at the front desk, welcoming your clients, helping kind of air traffic control. I got to give a shout out to Lindsay Andrews, who found Amari as a customer service representative at Jilly's Car Wash. Amari, that's right. He was selling subscriptions. And we said, if you could sell at Jilly's Car Wash, we got you, brother. So Amari is a recent graduate of Nicolet High School. Lindsay brought him to us. Then I vetted him because I know the superintendent, the principal, and his photography teacher, who's my next door neighbor. So we welcomed Amari to our team yesterday, and we'll look forward to introducing him to you all here very shortly. All right, with that, I wanted to give you a quick update. Yesterday, we announced what I call our impact report. Um, and just to give you guys context as to the way I look at it is not this is what we did. It was, this is the impact that we had. Last year as an organization, we closed 2.8 million in sales volume as a group, 6,300 units, and we made a local economic impact in terms of wages, gross commission incomes, products and services that we purchased of 78 million to Southeastern Wisconsin people or organizations. From a productivity standpoint, I look at it versus benchmarks of the industry. The average KW associate sold 115% more sales volume. They did 12.8 units, and they did 80% more deals than the average Southeastern Wisconsin GMAR associate. But more importantly, last year we shared $800,000 in profit share. We gave over $125,000 in philanthropic giving to Southeastern Wisconsin organizations just within the last calendar year, and we welcomed 220 new professionals into our environment. So we shared that with the group. Feel free to share it out with whom you might like, or feel free to rip off and duplicate of your own impact and how your organizations make an impact in Southeastern Wisconsin, because you have to remember, if you aren't telling your story, somebody else is telling it for you, and you need to control your narrative. Something to think about. All right, reminder, year-end reporting. We'll have 1099s mailed directly to you. We are in process this week of collating your expense reports that will be dropped in a Google Drive for you individually. The additional reports of closed transaction, itemized expenses, deductions, anything that you might have, those reports will be ready for you this week for tax purposes. For those of you who file in April, you'll have them ready for you this week. For those of you that file in October, we will remind you again in September. One thing I wanted to highlight is the Metro MLS gives out scholarships to graduating seniors. We've had kids in our environment or our ecosystem who have won this. They give away $1,000 scholarships, and quite frankly, it's amazing how few applicants they get. So if you have a graduating senior, I would encourage you to apply. It does require someone from the brokerage to write a letter of recommendation, and I'm happy to do that on behalf of your graduating seniors. So feel free to reach out if you have someone that would like to take advantage of this opportunity. The deadline to submit is March 31st. All right, education and events. A couple things to highlight. January, we're wrapping up Ignite. The Ignite calendar this week, tomorrow, is Janine is all about negotiating the power in real estate. So if you want to learn all around Janine's tips, tricks, and tactics around negotiation. And then Thursday, Tony and Sharice Jean Greco will be wrapping it up around envisioning our future. The best part of Ignite is the diversity of thought and diversity of approach. February training calendar is now out. As a reminder, we will be hosting individual awards ceremonies for 2025 throughout the week of February 9th and 16th in every location. Each location has a unique environment. I know the team has been communicating, so please reach out and or please make sure that you RSVP. We will have the agent anecdote experience, and we're rethinking how we do agent productivity awards in order to maximize the exposure to celebrate more folks from 2025. We're launching a new platform called PCX for new people. If you want to learn how to launch your career in real estate, PCX, we are launching it February 5th at 9:30 a.m. Be on the lookout for those details. More to come there. And then family reunion still coming February 21st to the 24th. I heard yesterday it is effectively sold out. If you need a ticket, call one of your people in leadership because we can help you. But the content all around influence and service is basically the theme of the show. And look forward to hosting the 70 plus people from Milwaukee that plan on attending. And if there's always room at the inn if you want to come, so just reach out. Opportunity knocks in terms of our speed dating for teams, for talent. You want to run a team, you want to find a team, you want to understand what it is that teams offer or provide. We are running that back March 9th at the Zuvari Conference Center. For teams, just as a heads up, we are giving you more of we learned from the last time, more of a station so that people can work from team to team. And we'll be looking to fill the room with talent in order to help be the bridge of connectivity to talent. All right. With that, Courtney, these guys have some marketing updates. What do these guys need to be paying attention to?
Yeah, hi everybody. So with the new year, we do have some more new assets that are available for you. With our 12 Directs campaign, we have the February date night postcard that's ready to go out. And then coming soon, we will have spring cleaning, local garden and flower shops, and then the brewer schedule as well. So I believe we're halfway done, over halfway done with those. So if you're someone who likes to plan ahead, we can get working on those. Just a reminder to submit through the marketing concierge. Next slide. And then a couple other reminders. So we are going to have a headshot day at Stonehouse Collective, which is on Oakland Ave in Milwaukee, and that will be on February 20th from noon to 3. If you're able to grab this QR code, you can go ahead. It should be live now to sign up. Otherwise, I will be sending an email with this link for you to sign up. Spots are limited and they'll go fast, but we will have more headshot days coming throughout the year. A couple of reminders about these, they are free to you as agents. But please keep in mind, if you are holding a spot, just know that other people are on the wait list or are waiting for that spot. So if you're not able to make that, please let us know as soon as possible so that we can get somebody else into that time frame.
Real quick, I'm just going to say one thing too, because every year we do this, every year there's a wait list. And there are those of you who don't show up for the slot you allotted to, which takes away slots from somebody else. So this year I made the executive decision. The world is run by those who show up. If you show up, it's free. If you don't show up, we will fine you $20 and we will appreciate your donation to KW Local Cares. Sound good? A little skin in the game, a little accountability.
Perfect. And then lastly, we've gotten a lot of requests for people to order KW gear. So our store is also live right now. It will be open until February 10th, and orders will ship once the store is closed. So if you order today, on the 10th is when the store closes, and it's going to ship between 2 and 3 weeks after that. You will have two options to select pickup in store at a Burkhart's or ship to your home. So those will be your two options. We will not be handing them out at the office. Too many things got kind of unorganized and lost in the shuffle last time. So trying to expedite that process. Again, grab this QR code or I will send this link out as well in an email.
Hey, Courtney, you want to just double check with Burghart's? The link is not open yet.
Okay, yeah, I think it's opening at 10 a.m. today, but I'll confirm.
Perfect. Thanks. Awesome. With that, we have the beautiful Ashley Myhre, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The Admiral is here to talk about FinCEN. Yeah.
All right, good morning. I'm talking about everybody's favorite subject, FinCEN. I'm just going to make it a more digestible version of what we've already had presented to us. So FinCEN means the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, which is part of the U.S. Treasury. Their job is to detect and prevent financial crimes like money laundering through financial transparency. Oops, is it not the arrow?
You just hit the screen.
Okay. What will trigger the FinCEN rule are single family, 1 to 4 property, basically everything that we sell, as long as it has a residential component to it. And if there is a non-finance transfer. So those two things apply, and that's when the FinCEN rule would apply. So if there's a cash seller, there's seller financing, a private financing, all of those things will trigger the FinCEN rule and reporting. And also, if a buyer is a legal entity or trust, like an LLC, corporation, partnership, those will also trigger the FinCEN reporting rule. So this isn't about every deal. It's specifically about non-finance sales entities or trust. They see these as higher risk for illicit financial activity. So they're just trying to kind of bring that in or rein it in a little bit. It's just historically entities and trusts have been the ones with the obscure ownership that are able to do more of the money laundering. So they're just trying to make things a little more transparent. So the person preparing the closing statement, often a title company or an attorney, would be the one who does the reporting. So you as agents are not going to be doing the reporting. What you will be doing is know which deals might trigger the FinCEN rule. So just be aware of that so that you can let them know upfront that they're going to be asked for certain things by the title company. So like social security numbers, sensitive information about themselves or where they're getting the money from. So just let them know that up front and then encourage them to work with the title company early on to get that process started. That's your job. You should never take any of that information for yourself and pass it along to the title company. And you should never prepare or submit a report. So really all you need to do is advise the client, make sure that they understand why this is happening, and encourage them early on to work with them so there aren't delays. Oops. Again, here's the compliance hotline. We are open 8 to 8 every day. There's 2 of us on, so we will get to you as soon as possible. So save this in your phone if you haven't already. You can text or call, and one of the 2 agents on will get back to you as soon as possible. And then lastly, we have a new series called Deal Defense. It's contracts and compliance. It's no longer contract training because of the new PCX program. That's going to be all encompassing with that stuff. So this is going to be more for some of you experienced agents. It's about protecting your deal, your license, and your business. It's built for real deals and not textbook scenarios. So those will be starting in February on Monday.
Sweet. Admiral, thank you for the insights. All right, guys, here we go. I'm going to now ask for your attention because this is where it impacts your license. In December, I gave a presentation around company exclusives, okay? And I'm going to quickly walk you through that again as a reminder because I was foreshadowing something. Now something's happening. So you're going to want to know. I shared with you company exclusive strategy, and I'm not using this to call out anybody, but there's one company that is being a bit more forthright in terms of how they think about using excludeds to their advantage from a data perspective and selling. It's effectively known as the MLS excluded strategy. It's a 3-phase approach. 1, take a listing as exclusive. Don't go on the MLS, expose it within an ecosystem, make it quiet, private, or exclusive. Goal is to test price and terms or to sell off market. The next phase of it was to go coming soon. You could pre-market before launch, and then obviously public launch via the MLS. That was the 3-phase approach to the excluded strategy, all of which that you guys have access to and can do now. It's not one company owns this strategy. When I told you this in December, it was more so to make you aware so that as you hear about this, you are understanding the framework from which it works. The one company in town that was pushing it was more so pushing it around more insights, more homes, more transparency, which I find wildly ironic in and of itself. But you know, that what they stated was 95% of listings go live nationally. Okay. The purpose of the strategy was this: price discovery without public days on market penalty. 2, internal demand leverage in terms of sourcing and acquiring buyers. And 3, it was seller control and privacy. To be clear, this is a strategy that's used nationally. Chicago, big major metro markets, Washington, D.C., New York, Austin, Texas. And yet we always know, and what I have to pay attention to is what happens on the coast eventually comes to the Midwest. And this was being used and weaponized in Chicago in a big way. And so in December, I wanted to use this opportunity from an educational standpoint. The risks of the strategy at scale is 1, reduced exposure, which reduces competition. 2 is a conflict of interest because it creates a product first, not a client first scenario. 3, it creates elevated risk of fair housing concerns. And 4, regulatory friction and litigation. Okay. What the data says, and I looked at a few studies that as it relates to this strategy, was twofold. 1, Bright MLS, which is the largest MLS in the country, did a study from 2019 to 2023. Homes on the active market sold for 18% more than those that sold off market or excluded. 2, Zillow did a study last year where they off-market homes resulted in a 2% lower than similar homes on the active market price point. And across 23 and 24, sellers who did not use the public MLS platform left over $1 billion in sales. And critically important, majority non-white zip codes off MLS listings sold for 3.2% less than the MLS homes, more than double the discount of majority white areas. study and background as it relates to data. When it does make sense, the ultra high profile or privacy sensitive sellers, we all know or are aware of them. There are people in town who have jobs that know they're leaving their job before public markets do. It impacts capital markets. They can't release it, but they need to get the house sold. If a high profile athlete sells their home, usually it does so privately. It never makes it to the MLS. It's totally unique luxury inventory. The seller would like privacy. The buyer especially might want privacy to mitigate comps or to mitigate what it is that they might have purchased. These are real scenarios in which this strategy makes sense in southeastern Wisconsin. They are more of the exceptions, not the norm. This is what I kind of was trying to educate you on and to in December, because there was more and more talk of how this was going to impact. And I shared with you, in the last 12 months, I basically there was 653 listings above $1 million, 53 listings above 2.5 million, and 5 listings above 5 million in the Metro MLS. Now, that doesn't include those that sold off market, but I was showing you effectively it's such a small subset of the market that might likely utilize this. And I shared with you then as it relates to the luxury profile and our economies of scale within this space. Now, here, I wanted to give you the context to what I provided you on December 5th to help you understand how the environment's changing, because there's a new Wisconsin state law. Wisconsin and the state of Washington were proactive in mitigating future weaponization of strategies such as this. Okay? Here's the kind of high level, I'm going to break it down for you. Act 69, which is Assembly Bill 456, was proposed and voted on that will go into effect January 1 of 2027. Now, it's a year before this really goes into effect, but I wanted you to know that from a state perspective, I've always thought Wisconsin was very forward thinking as it relates to our industry, going back to the commission disputes, how our states we have uniform contracts, uniform language. The state's done a really nice job of creating an environment for our industry. The core discussion around this is clear tension between clear cooperation, which is an association policy, not a state law, and its impact around the MLS and state and federal law. And there have been a lot of legal challenges to clear cooperation as it relates to how our industry operates. And some forward-thinking states, such as Wisconsin's, are taking the lead by passing laws that essentially codifies the requirement to list properties publicly. Okay? The Wisconsin context is this. Wisconsin was at the forefront of the legislation trend. The legislation effectively targets the practice of keeping listings off MLS for extended periods. The goal is to protect consumers from dual agency traps and ensure fair housing by providing all buyers equal access to inventory. The reality for us within our industry is this means that office exclusives are now under more intense scrutiny. If a law mandates public exposure, the choice of the seller to keep it private may no longer be valid or a legal shield for the agent. The disclosures that we now have from an excluded standpoint become elevated because it impacts your license. The good news to it, and while we didn't love it, there was a lot of energy behind it. We've operated an environment where we understood the rules of engagement of how the Metro MLS handled excludeds a few years ago when they enacted the policy that they'll fine you $1,000 a day for every day that there's public marketing. This is what effectively they're targeting. In other markets, you could publicly market an excluded listing. Okay, we couldn't, so we're already kind of operating within this environment. There's key takeaways to this. And this is why I was foreshadowing to educate you on what was happening to the company exclusive strategy. While the NAR had the clear cooperation policy, it's been under fire in courts. State law supersedes NAR's policies. Okay? Even if NAR were to drop clear cooperation, the new Wisconsin law will still require you the disclosures if you so choose to go excluded, as well as how you choose to list on the MLS. This is important. The liability shifts from the policing of associations or MLSs to state licensing boards. This means a violation isn't just a fine from the MLS, it's a potential threat to how you operate your business or your ability to continue to operate your business. Consumer transparency, associates should be prepared to explain to sellers that private networks or coming soon periods are being narrowed by law to ensure seller gets maximum market exposure. Okay. Now, here's the timeline and details to it. There's a lot of information here, but I wanted to provide it to you because this is all literally just hit. This goes into effect January 1 of 2027, where Wisconsin Act 69 will officially become law. The shift moves the requirement for public listing exposure from trade association rules to a state licensing mandate. The requirement within 1 business day of the start date of any agency agreement, the firm must advertise the property on a platform accessible to the general public or other licensees. I like this. Okay. Closing the gap. This effectively eliminates the practice of testing the market via private networks or coming soon statuses that aren't visibly available to the entire buyer pool. Again, maximum exposure. There's 2 other things to note within this that you really need to pay attention to. Effective January 1 of 2027, there's 2 things. There will be a compensation ban where listing firms can't pay the buyer's firm directly. It's not a problem. It'll all be on the offer to purchase. It'll be on closing disclosures where we will accept the money from title companies or attorneys and then pay you. That's not that big of a deal. It doesn't always happen that way in other parts of the state, so they're trying to make it uniform. That's a non-issue for us. Here's the big change, because I see this a lot. Any advertising that uses technology such as AI to add, remove, or modify property elements, virtual staging, removing of power lines, changing sky color, must be explicitly disclosed. Must be explicitly disclosed to avoid misleading interpretations. So now we'll have a year to work this through, and our marketing partners and the people you work with will all have to figure this out. But I don't mind it. I think it creates more transparency. And I give the state a lot of forthright in thinking about how they're approaching the exclusives, private listing networks, yada, yada, yada. And I also like that, look, if you want to engage in the strategy and you want to try and weaponize the strategy and you don't want to play by state law, then you're going to put your license at risk. And I always say life's about choices. You have to live with the byproduct of those choices. Cool? So here's the bottom line, and this is just my interpretation. The Wild West of private listings is ending in Wisconsin before it really got going. Regulation moving the hands of trade associations into the hands of the government, making compliance a matter of state law, just not membership rules. Great. Capiche? Love it. So that's breaking news. Just wanted to give you guys an insight as to what's coming down the pike, so that you can stay educated and informed as how this is changing. Now, I'm going to jump into something else. So that was kind of state licensing law and compliance. I have one other thing to talk to you about this morning, and it's an idea as it relates to how you think about your lead gen. I shared with you a few weeks ago that perspective matters. In 2025, there were 15,000 listings that came to the market, 6.2 billion in listing inventory. The top 25 of agents only accounted for 10% of the transactional units, and the top 10 agents were only 4% of the listing inventory. And my challenge to the group is, how do you look at 31,000 effectively transactional units and say to myself, there's no possible way I don't hit my goals in 2026, right? I've shared with you this story many times before, but a famous saying that Ted Kellner says all the time. Ted says, I don't believe in relative performance, I believe in absolute performance. Last year, there was 30,000 units. The way that mortgages are trending, and I'll touch on that in a second, applications are up substantially in January of 26 versus what we saw in January of 25. December applications were up versus November. Demand is increasing, and there are more mortgages in the industry above 6% than mortgages below 4%. I'll share with you that data next week, okay? I shared with you the impact of what's winning so you can track it on a weekly. Next week, we'll have an update for you as it relates to what we saw for January, but just keeping you informed. And then I gave you the market of the moment script, which is still very relevant as of today. Now, here's what I would challenge you with as you think about your lead gen heading into 2026. The challenge I think many of you face is that you actually aren't acting or communicating in a fiduciary manner that gets people to think. Okay? And I think that we need to be thinking about how we communicate market conditions and affordability conversations as a way to communicate to our clients in database. Many agents, and many of you have started post 2019. And post 2019, we have to reset the mindset from being an order taker to a long-term client fiduciary developer. Okay? If you don't know what the definition of fiduciary is, look it up. Okay, here are the facts. As it stands today, we have the lowest mortgage rates in 3 years. By the way, you have an opportunity to value add to your clients that you've transacted with in the last 3 years because there's a refi opportunity. We had the highest January mortgage application volume since January of 2022. In December, I shared with you month over month from November, it was up 5%, when usually December applications go way down. We have to reframe affordability and I would argue equity with data. Okay? You have to lead conversations, marketing, communications in a way where you ask questions or pose content or pose questions to get people to think. Because when you get people to think, you will get them to act. Okay? And in order to get them to act, here are some questions I think you should be thinking about in terms of how you frame your content. What is the minimum income to buy, name the price point or bands of price point, for homes in communities in which you desire to serve? What's the minimum income? What is the average equity people are sitting on within the named community in which you desire to serve? What is it? Do the math, communicate it, advertise it, get people to think, stimulate thoughts. Stimulated thoughts create actions. Share with the segmented population within your database. Segment your database. Right? I've talked to you last year, the average age of someone who transacted real estate was 58. Well, someone in their 30s might need to know what the minimum income is to hit certain price points in order to create a stimulating thought to want to buy. And someone above 58 who is sitting on a home with a ton of equity, but they're unaware as to what the equity looks like on their balance sheet. Let's communicate those things, stimulate thoughts and ideas, right? And there are 4 key questions for you as agents that I would pose to you. What is the income is needed to buy the average price point home locally? I would beg you to question, 80% of you don't know. Okay. 2, how much equity are people sitting on? No. It's a great talking point. It's great bar trivia. It's a great party trick. How many in your database know this or assume they can't buy or sell? Segment your population, communicate to your population. And 3, will you work with those below those thresholds over time? Interesting questions as it relates to most people are trying to go up. You're communicating to someone who says they can't reach it. The answer to that question is, of course, yes. But how you frame your communication and the content in which you communicate to is important. Because the conclusion is this: you have to equip your database with concrete affordability and equity data so that they view you as their fiduciary as to how to unlock the wealth potential that they carry. Think about that as you head into 2024. And I think that as you think about your content, how you frame your questioning, how you talk to and communicate and segment your database, you will stimulate people that you did not know were thinking of transacting real estate in some form or fashion in a way to help shake the trees to who might do it in 2026. Something to think about as we head into the new year. Cool? Create processes to convert more leads, and top producers are broadcasting the rate and application trends to drive Q1 activity. All right, wrap it up. I alluded to in February, we have awards ceremonies, so I'm not going to do year-to-date numbers. We're going to save those hanging, leave you guys hanging. But I do want to celebrate a handful of people because while December was tough, I talked about the timing of the holidays effectively being 2 weeks off. There's a lot of people who had an exceptional December. Home Run Club in the month of December, 1 listing taken, 1 contract written, 1 contract closed. Amy Berger, Charlie Hutchinson, Dennis Greitens, Emily Gilders, Isam El Safi, Ethan Masson, Greg Wagner, Holly Speranza, James Menger, Gene Jaskowski, Joey Carini, Josh Holt, Karen Trimble, Kay Schmidt, Matt Lozniacki, Milena Cortez, Melody Hendrickson, and Sarah Oberbrunner. Congrats on a home run club in the month of December. And then $1 Million Month Club of closed transactional volume in the month of December. Shout out to Elena Zeman, Alicia, Aletha, Alexandra, Allison Maris, Andrea Crivello, Angie Waldron, Ann Kleber, Ashley Myhre, Benji Cohen, Colleen Grams, Coco Wallach, Doreen Drummel, Isam, Holly, Jean, Jesse, Jessica, Joey, Karen, Carla, Kirsten Lindstrom, Kristen Stuhulik, Laura Stoner, Maggie Drain, Martha Olick, Melena Cortez, Melissa Bradley, Nada, Omar, Robin, Harshaw, Sarah Oberbrunner, and Sarah Reardon, rounding it out for $1 Million months in the months of December. Congrats, guys. I'll leave you with how I started. Be there for your friends. You don't know who they're going for, and the fastest way to build trust with those that you love and care for is reach out and check in on them. Again, I want to be very clear. It's an apolitical statement. We are in the business of taking care of people, and we all have a responsibility to do that. And learn and listen. With that, it's a beautiful day in Milwaukee, guys. Thanks for showing up.